Hey everybody, this is me, Lance Meister, Undead Viking. I am here with an actual review today, an RPG review. The book I took a look at and I read through is, and I'm gonna Ave Nox. This is as you can see down here, a system neutral mega dungeon of forgotten history and folly. This was a Kickstarter that was run. I always try to tell people I want to try to keep track of this stuff and like when cool things go on up for crowdfunding, because usually now that's the only way these things get published. I mean, yes, there are big companies out there that make lots of cool stuff, but there's a lot of great cool ideas that people are having that end up being in books like this that are crowdfunded, and that is basically the way that they get made, which is, another story for another time as far as like how awesome that is that stuff gets published. But I don't know how I heard about this. It just kind of popped under my radar, and then I remember I didn't know how to get a hold of it, because it's one of those things too where like with crowdfunding you're like, oh, I missed out, and you can't get it. But as luck would have it, I was able to reach out to the writer and publisher of this, and they are actually selling it on their feralindystudio.com. Feralindystudio.com is where you can pick up a copy of this if after you hear what I have to say about it and you think it's something you want to pick up. And I live in the United States. It was like $35 plus like $3 shipping. So that's actually a pretty good price, in my opinion, for a pretty cool little book, which now you probably know I'm going to say lots of positive things about it. So I don't do a sit down, put the camera over it, and flip through the book type of review here, mostly because I don't want to. But I'm going to give you my thoughts and my feelings about different aspects of the book, things that I thought were really, really cool. And then I'll give it kind of my rating as far as would I want to run it myself, or does this have things I want to steal and take from it? So from just the bare bones perspective of, is it written well? Yes, it's written quite well. Does it have cool art? Yes, it has cool art. I'll mention some things, and I will actually show some of the artwork. You can kind of see it. I'll make it a point to like put some of that stuff up here while I speak. But I mean, you can kind of see from the photo at the very beginning, you have like this weird statue of who knows what that is kind of thing, and then you have this odd creature, maybe mutated human or something, that is and this is actually a picture that's in the book as well, but what's going on there. It has a creepy vibe to it, and I like that. So yeah. So this book has, like, it is very distinct as far as it is a mega dungeon. It has levels that, you start at the top and you work your way down. It branches out as far as not just, it isn't just the second level's got to be tougher than the third level, and so on and so forth. It also has branches that move out, and it has themes to the levels. This isn't just let's throw a bunch of monsters in rooms and see what happens kind of thing. Now, it has a background for the world, and it actually has like a small village. It doesn't really give you a map for the village, but it does tell you like specific shops that are available in that village, and it does give you a lot of the dramatic persona that are going to be in that location as well. What they can help the players with, what they expect, what they want, can they be hired, what they can do for the party. It also lists off several NPC parties that the players could negotiate with, talk with, come into combat with, or what have you. Since this is a system neutral book, a lot of that stuff is left to interpretation. This isn't going to be a situation where you're going to have big, giant 5e stat blocks for it. However, I do think that if you are a 5e player, you'd definitely be able to glean what you need from the stat box of the monsters and what have you that are in there that you're going to be able to use. It is, in my opinion, much better suited for an OSR mindset. If you are playing some sort of OSR type rule system, be it Swords and Wizardry or OSE or what have you, I think you'd be able to transmogrify that much easier than with 5e. That is not to say that, like I said, a 5e player is absolutely going to find the ability to use the things that are in this book and use the monsters and the characters that are within it as well. Just maybe a little more difficulty to get there than with if you play an OSR rule set. This book does give a background of the area a little bit, gives a history lesson, if you will. I find those timelines, and it's one of those things where I know I said I wasn't going to page through and show you like big giant things, but like here's a cool piece of art, but then you can see there's a timeline over there, where it's like, oh, from it says here year 22, year 23, so on and so forth, and it gives kind of a timeline. Now, I always find those to be kind of interesting to as the person that's going to be running the game. But I also feel like it's a lot of wasted space because, for the most part, the players are never, ever, ever going to know that part of it, right? Yes, the person that is going to be refereeing or GMing or whatever you want to call it, the sessions, it might provide useful information for them to give some kind of background to what is going on. But in my opinion, a lot of times that can be a lot of wasted pages within the book, which for reading purposes, if it's just for reading, great, it's not wasted, but actual game use, not so much. Now, I will say this, this book does not waste a lot of time doing that. It's just a handful of pages, giving a timeline, giving some background of the world, and then it dives into the stuff, the meat that you're going to be using. I've definitely read lots of different modules where it's like the first 25 pages of the book are like this wide, expansive background of everything that's going on and what happened 2,000 years ago and what happened 50, and that is too much. It is like something that is pointless to add, in my opinion, except for somebody just wanting to write it, and then theoretically people wanted to read it. But as far as game chunk, it has no real value. So there are going to be some very, very slight spoilers. So if you think that if you are a player and you think this looks cool and creepy, and I want to tell my dungeon master about it, so that they can pick it up and maybe run it. I guess stop now. But if you're one of those people that doesn't really care, or you can sit on your hands as far as spoilers go, and you don't want the adventure to be spoiled for you as before you play it, continue on. So there you go. So the idea behind this is kind of a trope. It is a underground civilization that once was mighty and powerful, but has fallen into decay. They're dealing with a lot of stuff that's going on underneath the ground, and for the most part, the people above ground have had no idea that this group existed and what they were doing. And recently, because of a fissure or whatever reasons, there has been an entrance to the dungeon has been discovered, and a few people have investigated it, but now the people within the village don't want people investigating it because they feel like it's probably a bad idea to go poking around. Who knows what you're going to find down there, who knows what you're going to anger, who knows what you're going to bring out. And truth be told, they're right. They probably don't need, but the book does give a fair number of good reasons why the players would want to dig into the situation, and if not just, hey, let's go in there and see if we can find some gold or whatever, and put a pin in that idea of the treasure, because there's a really cool thing that happens in this as far as treasure goes. The cartography, it's okay. I wanted to say this. Gone are the days, I know, of the blue maps that were within the old adventures we all knew and loved, with square rooms and doors and the little table of contents off to the side. We've gone beyond that, and we have gotten to a point where we have an expectation of our maps for our dungeons to be more vibrant. And I think in a lot of ways that's good, but I think sometimes in a lot of ways that can be bad. Meaning that we get so far into the weeds as far as wanting to make that map look really cool. Mind you, a map that only the dungeon master is going to see, that is can sometimes make it difficult for the dungeon master to parse it and to adequately describe it. I've seen really, really bad examples of this in some other published adventures. This one comes close. It doesn't quite go overboard in a lot of ways. But I do wish that in some situations it was far cleaner than it was. I'm gonna show you one thing. I don't normally do this. I don't want to go digging through, but like here's a map that's in this. Now that's not bad. That's not bad at all. There is one thing that I think that they did that was really well thought out that can be confusing the first time you look at this. Is that you'll notice like those two spots right here and right there are the exact same thing. The reason for that is because the book it has that crease in there, and so it can be a little confusing the first time you see it because of the fact that they didn't want to have any of the map buried within the crease of the book. So I appreciate that. And I should be mentioned that like when I purchased the book directly from the publisher, they actually sent a code that actually allowed me to download the PDFs for the book as well, which I thought was awesome. And they actually do have a map pack PDF, which if you are a publisher and you publish role-playing game books or whatever, you should offer up PDFs of the maps, because I don't use a lot of digital resources when I play games, but I'm just going to say right now that having a digital map pack where I can print off the maps how I want, and I can like fuss with them and monkey with them and then print off the stuff I need for my sessions, fantastic. So I don't have to dig through a book to look at a map. I can just have a printed off piece of paper or a map in my phone or whatever. Choice. And thank you to Feral Indie Studios for doing that with us. So I have that access. So for the most part, like I said, the maps are good. And in some cases, they're great. They do, in a few cases, like I said, they get a little busy. And I'm trying to find one of the ones that I thought were like a little busy or whatever. Like stuff like this, where it's like, do I need to know what all these little cubicles or whatever that are in this map here? Do I need that? I don't think I do. But I guess me looking at it, it looks cool, but I don't know. It is a situation where maybe there's people out there that really like it. I don't know. But for me, and again, this is a review. This is my personal opinion about the book. It should not be taken as, I don't know, canon. Like everybody should agree with me. If you like it, great, awesome. For me, it just was like, wow, that's a lot of stuff, and I don't really want to look at that. So, what about the actual adventure? Well, there's I'm not going to dive really full into like it is an exploration thing. It is a finding a lost civilization thing. It definitely has, like, I don't know if it was purposely meant to be like this, but it feels like it's a bit of an homage to the classic B4, The Lost City adventure that was made. I mean, maybe that isn't the intent, but I definitely got that feeling when I was reading through it. Which, by the way, one of my absolute favorite adventures of all time. So, if you're making me feel or think about that one, that's obviously a good thing as far as I'm concerned. It has some cool little mysteries. It has some cool items, some very unique items, unique encounters that you're going to have. There are some things that are kind of really, really neat. The city itself has a natural gas system where certain areas will be lit because of the fact that they have natural gas that and there will be light underground. This is one of those things where it's like the classic old civilization had technology that people we just haven't discovered. Or maybe in your world they will have, but for the most part, like, it'd be something that would be like amazing that they managed to pull this off. And it has of itself a hazard as well. Like if there are places where the pipes have broken, and if you come in there with an open flame, well, you know what's going on. So there's things like that. There are some cool aspects going on because of this is an ancient civilization and they did some pretty awful things. There are ghosts within, not the classic like ghost monster, if you will, yet they can be malevolent. There are ghosts within the ancient ruins that are because of the horrific way that they met their end. In lots of cases, they are well, I mean, mischievous, I guess, but the players can work on if they are kind and they figure out what the ghosts want, they can turn them to their side and they can get at the very least the ghosts can help them a little bit, but mostly they can leave them alone, or the ghost can actually not actively try to make things worse for the players, and so that's something that the players can interact with them. There is a strange merchant that wanders through the pipes of the city. This was a little bit too weird for me as I was reading it. Like I said, I haven't run this. I've just read this. That felt a little bit too weird for me. It probably wouldn't be something that I would have included. But if I ever run this, I wouldn't include that as part of the city. But it's there. It's really cool. If you wanted to inject that into the process and wanted to do that, that is absolutely something that you could do. And it's one of those things where you interact, and then you could call upon them to like trade items and get cool artifacts and what have you. I'm going to talk about one of the things that I really, really, really liked about this, and we are so used to the idea of go to the first level, clean it out, go to the second level, clean it out, go to the third level, clean it out, go to the fourth level, kill the boss, or whatever. This is, but if you ever played a game like a Skyrim, for example, like you go into a dungeon in Skyrim on your computer, and you get to a door that you couldn't open. There's no lever, there's nothing to touch, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to adjust. And you have no idea what's going on. So you left that and you went to an entirely different part of the dungeon, and you did something there and you'd hear a rumbling, and then you'd hear a door open somewhere else. And that is something that actually occurs almost right away when the players enter the dungeon. There is a thing that they want to be able to do, but they don't have the key that they need to be able to do it. And they won't discover the key until they actually go down this elevator shaft and start discovering things. And it's one of those things where it allows the players to feel smart, where they'll find this item and they'll say, oh my gosh, wait a minute. There was that room when we first entered and it had that thing. I bet you we need to go back up and use it there. And so now, even though they've gone down and they've moved out, they've discovered, and now they're going right back up to the first level of the dungeon, and they are like opening up a brand new area up there. And also, one of the things that I hate about Megadungeons or whatever is the fact that like you leave and then you come back, and somehow those rooms where you clean them out, nothing's there anymore, and you don't want to repopulate them because it just takes a lot of time. This is a dungeon that, as the game progresses, you will find other exits out into the outside, and the players will wisely use those to actually like travel back down to the place they just left instead of having to walk through the entire thing to get there. And that is an aspect that adds a verisimilitude to the dungeon and allows the players again to feel kind of clever, where they're just avoiding certain areas that they didn't want to deal with before or don't want to take care of. So another big bonus for the book. I mentioned the treasure. So like there's tons of cool magic stuff to find in here. magic items that are helpful but come with a price. Like there's a thing that you can find that's a metal choker that a person can put on, and it doesn't they can remove it, but it makes it so they can't eat or drink, and they can barely talk. So like spellcasters probably couldn't use it, but it makes it so they don't have to breathe, and they can so you could go underwater, or you could be in a gas filled room that would normally kill you. So I like magic items like that, where it isn't just, yeah, put the ring of protection +1 on and go and move on with your life. It is something where it's like, oh, I can put this on for this specific purpose, but just because I can't eat or drink, so if I don't eat or drink, I'm going to die. So it isn't an item that you can use constantly. So stuff like that, I enjoy that. But again, there is an encounter in here, and the picture is a little not safe for work, so I'm not going to show it here. And I should say this is a very creepy dungeon, and it has very creepy people, but it is not like over the top, like hideous or anything like that. I mean, the one kind of not safe for work picture is like like this nude, like best way to bird demon, if it would be the best way to describe it. But regardless, and it's not grotesque or it's not over the top. I'm just going to leave it at that. But if you encounter that creature, who's very difficult or whatever, and it is a situation where you can actually persuade them to, and I think and to actually get to the bottom of the dungeon and to do everything that you want. And I think the point is that you want to persuade this creature to help you, not to fight it. But if you fought it, because it is basically in a room that is full to the brim of treasure. Like think of the first Brendan Fraser room with the mummy, and they walk in that room and there's just gold all over the place, like that. If you go in there and you defeat that creature, and you are able to take its hoard, it isn't like the book even says it can't enumerate the amount of treasure that is in there. It's just one of those things where it's not like, oh, you get 50 silver coins. It's life-changing treasure, and depending upon the amount that the players decide we want to extract this money or whatever, it'll take a certain amount of time to take a portion of it, and depending upon if they take an eighth or a fourth or half or all of it or what have you, how much time it'll take to do, and what exactly will happen to the surrounding area if they actually take all of that treasure out. And obviously there's real world ramifications to all of a sudden, millions of gold pieces just showing up in the local economy, and what's going to happen to everybody if that happens, which I thought was kind of a neat thing, where it's like you have a situation where, yeah, we are treasure finders, right? But finding all the treasure in the world is actually not ultimately the goal of adventurers. And that's maybe an idea that I need to stick in my noodle and have a video about in the future. Ultimately, yes, there is a big bad at the end of the dungeon that needs to be dealt with in one way or the other. I realize that these are, like I said, I'm not trying to go deep into spoilers. I want people to read this and to steal the ideas or play it, right? I don't like giving away everything that's going to happen, but there ultimately is a big bad that is in there, and it is one of those things that we have to deal with. And there is a very what happens. Oh, and I like these. I like these as well. Like little I know I said I wasn't going to show pictures or whatever, but I like little level processes there, and afterwards, what happens if you defeat the big bad, what's going to happen or whatever, and how is that going to work? So all in all, my opinion of Ave Nox. And I gotta tell you, I mean, there are some fantastic high level like excitement and thrilling encounters that go on here. There's an equal amount of like puzzle solving, there's an equal amount of mystery, and for those players who just want something big and squishy to fight, I mean, there's one with this giant hagfish that the players can run into that is a mammoth fight that I think that it's one of those things where it's like if I don't run this, I'm going to steal that because I think that would be an amazing battle for my players to experience. So here I come to the end part where it's like, did I like this book? Yeah, I loved it. I have spent far more on far worse when it comes to dungeons and mega dungeons and whatever. Ave Nox is really really good. I'm gonna have to check out and see if Feral Indus Studios has other stuff out there that I want to purchase. But they knocked it out of the park with this one. My minor quibbles are with the cartography, and I do think there was some silly stuff that I would not probably include if I ever played this verbatim right out of the book. But those small little minor problems I have with it are far outweighed by like just the imagination and the other aspects that went into the creation of this, that are the multiple paths to get into the dungeon, that whole process of finding the item that lets you go back to the first level, unlocking a new area. I mean, stuff like that. It speaks to a creative mind that I don't normally myself when I make my own dungeons and that kind of thing, that I don't have the presence of mind to put together, and I like it when people that are better at this sort of thing than I could ever be when they create those things that I can then just outright steal. Now, my big two things whenever I get a thing, was it fun to like three things? Sorry, three things. Was it fun to read? Absolutely. I read through this book. I mean, how many pages is it? Like that matters. But it's a little over 200 pages. I read through this book over a couple of days and really, really enjoyed it. Can I steal from it? Absolutely. I can steal all kinds of stuff from this book and use it for my own adventures and transplant different encounters and different ideas and put it in here. I mean, I really love that the hagfish encounter, like I said, but also that massive treasure hoard aspect. There's also this like really really horrible disease that the players can get called the Gilded Curse, I think it is, which allows, which again, if the players get it, it kind of pushes them into we need to like solve this before we die, because it like slowly turns the players into golden statues and they can feel their flesh hardening, and so there's that imminent demise like scariness going on, which I love. I've used that in certain things, and I like it. And this kind of actually makes for a really interesting aspect of like trying to get that cured. Anyway, so yeah, tons of stuff that you can steal from this. And lastly, would I ever want to run this just as an adventure right out of the book? I'm gonna say yes, with an asterisk. This would be something where, like, if I had a group that I could say, over the summer we're going to do this, and make some characters, and we're going to dive into it, and we're just going to spend, June, July, and August meeting 2 or 3 times a month to have sessions, so you can start at the top and work their way to the bottom, and solve the mystery, and then we just be done with those characters and done with it. In the upcoming big campaign that I'm starting, this would be a little bit too big. It would be a little bit too big, and I think it would be way too focused for that one thing. But as a hey, let's make some characters, and this is what we're going to play for the next 3 to 5 months, which I think is about much time. If you're meeting like 2 or 3 times a month to play, I think that's how long it would take to get through it all. Maybe less, depending upon your session length or whatever. But I think that would absolutely be something that I would dive into, and I would do, and I think that would be an option as well. So, Ave Nox, go to feralindystudios.com, pick up your own copy. I was not, like I said, I wasn't sponsored by this at all. I just kind of discovered this book, and I thought it was really really cool. And if you are a dungeon master looking for some cool ideas or a cool dungeon to drop on your players, I would strongly suggest getting this. And if you never run it, like I said, at least you got a couple days of really, really good reading material to go for as well. So, anyway, if you've read the book and you have your own opinions, love to hear about that. If you know of any like weird, out of the ordinary Mega Dungeon type modules that I would not possibly know of, I would love to know about those as well. Leave those in the comments. If you have, I don't know, any opinion whatsoever, just let me know. Put it in the comments, and I try to respond to. I try to respond to all of those. If I miss yours, I apologize. But take care of yourself. I'm gonna try to be doing these more often, like reviews of the Mega Dungeons. I find I maybe make this a thing. Who knows if I stick with it? But take care of yourself. Until next time, go ahead and hit the like, the subscribe, share, whatever it is that you want to do. Whatever it is that you decide to do, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.